Of course, we'll keep you updated with the latest from Dallas as a second healthcare worker has come down with Ebola. We'll have that for you a little bit later this morning. But if you're a coffee lover, it's probably not your fault. And this really happened. Cliff Albert, our news director, came in here with something very important, and I ran past him and said, I can't talk to you right now. I need a cup of coffee.
She literally did.
Yeah. Dr. Richard Lee, who is the medical director of GeneSolve, is joining us now on the Kogo Newsline. So I wasn't just being rude, right?
No, you're being truthful, and this pertains to a study done at the Harvard School of Public Health, which found among 120,000 people who drink coffee regularly, there are 6 new genes discovered that basically probably say why they drink coffee. 2 have to do with the ability to metabolize it. 2 have to do with the coffee's influence on the brain in increasing pleasure neurotransmitters and excitation neurotransmitters. And 2 have to do with the coffee's ability to metabolize fats and sugar, which probably help the athletes with it.
Okay, so how can knowing this information, how can it help healthcare workers and their patients?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, a more important one was one of the older genes discovered related to coffee, which has to do with metabolism. And for people who lack this gene, they don't metabolize coffee well, and they're at increased risk of both agitation, anxiety, and even heart attacks if they drink too much and they already have other risk factors. Additionally, that same gene defect for coffee metabolism also affects drug metabolism, and certain medications may not be suited for them either. They can build up toxic levels. And so there are linkages between these. We haven't discovered yet any ones with these 6 new genes, but they're probably out there.
See, pardon me there, doctor. Now, one of the things that my family is a family full of redheads, and we have weird reactions to all kinds of drugs. And is there a genetic type that has this coffee DNA issue, or is it just sprinkled throughout all of us?
That's a good question. We only know among the coffee drinkers these genes are common. And, some people just never drink coffee and they don't know. They may not get the pleasure from it. Others drink coffee and they know it's a problem. Again, you may not inherit the same genes that your parents have, and until you know, you can't really do anything about it other than what you experience clinically.
So I used to work with a woman who would drink half a cup and be jittery for, 4 or 5 hours. How can too much caffeine actually impact your body?
Okay, for people who can't, well, even if people who do metabolize it, like I said, one of the chemicals in the brain is one called glutamate, which it causes excitation. Too much of that can cause anxiety and even progress to depression, but that's pretty darn rare. Again, for the people who don't metabolize coffee, what happens is it increases adrenaline, which ups their blood pressure and ups their sense of anxiety and panic.
Dr. Richard Lee is with us. He is the medical director of GeneSolve. Kogo News Time is 7:15. And doctor, where did you guys go to find the patients or the study people that you were looking at, and how did you conduct the study?
Okay, I wasn't part of that study, but I've read the details of it. And this is done by a group that's on a consortium of caffeine and genetics. And my guess there may be a little coffee industry support behind that. But they simply did a survey and found among coffee drinkers what were genes that were common. They ran and sequenced their DNA, as they're doing a lot of people, and found these 6 common genes with them. And this is how we're doing with other people with disease states. We look at their DNA and say, what's common to these people? And then we try and figure out how much having those genes predicts it. Having the gene doesn't guarantee you're going to have the problem related to it.
Well, if loving caffeine is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Nothing wrong with it.
Thank you so much, doctor.
You're welcome.
Kogo News Time is 7:15, and here are the stories trending in San Diego. A second healthcare worker in Dallas has tested positive for Ebola after reporting a fever. Nurses Union says the nurses at first lacked proper protective gear.
Now the CDC says it's going to do everything it can to help out in that situation in Dallas, and says it may not have helped enough at the beginning. San Diego's first hearing to issue a license for medical marijuana scheduled today. David Blair wants to open Green Alternative in a space near Brownfield at Otay Mesa.
The children's pool in La Jolla, dirtier than normal. About 5,000 gallons of sewage spilled out of a blocked lane on Coast Boulevard.
Less than 2 weeks expressing confidence. Sorry, I have no idea what that was supposed to be. Anyway, less confidence in the ability of U.S. healthcare facilities to safely manage Ebola cases that might come their way. A top U.S. official is acknowledging the government was not aggressive enough.
All right, coming up next, we've got Kogo Money Man George.